My beloved child, today, I do not come merely to add one more sound into a room already crowded with voices. I come to drop something with weight into the deepest part of you. There are words that pass through the ear and vanish like smoke, but there are also words that fall like a stone thrown into still water, breaking the silence and sending ripples out and out. My word belongs to the second kind. When I speak, I am not looking for someone to take notes. I am looking for someone who trembles in their very bones, whose every cell knows, this is the voice of the living one. You have grown used to listening, nodding, whispering amen in your mind, then walking out as if nothing has really changed. But the time has come for that to no longer be so. My word does not come to decorate your thoughts, but to shape your whole life. It is like a stone laid into the foundation, forcing every wall to recalculate its place. I do not call you just to savor, but to carry. I do not speak merely to move you for a moment, but to plant in you a new direction of living. My word is like a key placed into your palm, heavier than you expected, because it does not open just one door, but a whole way of life. Let your soul be still in this moment, like a room where all music has been turned off so the sound of footsteps can be heard clearly. I am stepping in, not with clamor, but with a presence that makes everything else give way. There were times before when you heard me. You were touched. You wept. But then you let the tears dry on your cheeks without letting them soak down to the roots. This time I want it to be different. I want my word to go deeper, heavier, to stay longer not only on the surface of your awareness, but in the deepest place within you, the place you still have not dared to let anyone touch. Think of the pounding in your chest when you know you must decide something, the feeling as if even your bones know how to shake. My word today is reaching for that place. I want my utterance to become a new heartbeat within you, so that every decision, every step is no longer weightless, but carries the gravity of eternal meaning. I am not seeking more spectators. I am calling the one who knows they cannot just sit still any longer. Many times you have said to me, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening." Yet deep inside you still believed that listening was enough. I hear that whisper, and I am pleased that you open your heart. But I also ache when I see my words stop at the threshold of your ears, never traveling on into your heels, into your hands, into the way you treat those around you. You are like someone standing in a room full of music, nodding along to the melody, but never once choosing to move in step with it. Now I have come not to add another tune, but to invite you into my dance. When I speak, creation comes into being. When I speak, the sea halts at the shore. When I speak, the dead rise. Do you think that word is only so you can know more? No, my child. That word carries the same nature of power, and I am placing it in your hand as a sword, not as an ornament. Every sentence you hear today will either become a seed that bears fruit, or it will become evidence that the soil of your heart has hardened. I love you too much to let you continue living a life of hearing without standing. There is a word I spoke long ago that is still echoing now. My word shall not return to me void. Do you remember? Or have you treated it as just another memory verse on a page? When I spoke that, I was not talking about ink on paper. I was speaking of the very stream of life that flows from my mouth. Every word I send out carries a mission, a destination, a soul to find, a circumstance to transform, a shackle to break. When you open your heart to my word, you are opening the door to far more than you realize. Old thoughts begin to tremble. Long-standing habits begin to lose their footing. Ancient fears begin to crack. Do you feel that weight? At times you have called it being touched, being stirred. But I call it my word, looking for a place to set its foot within you. I do not want that word to return to heaven with the report they listened, were moved, and chose to leave everything as it was. I want it to return with a different testimony. That heart broke open. That posture changed. That child stood up. My child, look back over your own journey. There were times you heard me like someone hearing rain on the roof, comforted, yet remaining in bed. There were gatherings, prayer nights, passages of scripture that once made your eyes burn with tears, but the next morning you still put on the old clothes of old patterns, old reactions, old fears. I do not condemn you for being weak, but I will not let weakness become the excuse that keeps you where you are. This time I come like a rain that does not just wet the roof, but floods into the house, forcing you to decide: either rearrange everything or keep lifting your feet to stay dry. I want you to choose the first. I want every word of mine to fall into your heart like a heavy drop, making it impossible for you to pretend you have not heard. I want my voice to resonate in your bones, so that when you stand up, your whole body knows it is answering a call, not just following a habit. You have lived long enough in the realm of hearing because it's good. Now is the time to cross into the realm of hearing in order to stand. This is what I want you to grasp from the very first movement of this conversation. I am entrusting you not only with a message, but with a gentle responsibility. I am not laying on your shoulders the burden of dead law, but placing in your heart the weight of a love that knows the cost of every word that has been spoken. True love does not speak just to finish a sentence. True love speaks so that the listener might live differently. I love you so much that I cannot allow you to remain only an archivist. I want you to become an echo. My word comes into you as sound, but I want it to go out from you as action, as the way you stand on my side in a world that kneels before everything but me. You have prayed that I would use your life, and now I answer. I begin by making my word heavy within you. Receive it, do not dodge it. Let every word I speak today fall like a weighty seed, so that one day you yourself will marvel to find you have ceased to be only a listener, and have joined the ranks of those who respond. I know you love to sit still and listen, because in those moments you feel safe, covered, as if a gentle wind were stroking your tired soul, and I do not despise those moments. They are a good beginning, a place where your heart grows soft again after dry days, where your ears grow familiar with the cadence of my voice amid 1,000 others. But understand this: listening is only the threshold, not the house. It is dawn, not noon. It is the first breath of a journey, not its entirety. If you stop at listening, you are like someone admiring a beautiful map but never stepping beyond the gate, like someone touching bread but never breaking it to eat. Listening enlightens your mind, but only walking redirects your path. I speak into your ears not so that the sound remains there, but so that your feet, your hands, your gaze, your way of living must choose a new road, a new direction, a new rhythm. Picture yourself sitting in a quiet room where only my whisper is heard, and you listen so intently that every cell seems to pause, hardly daring to breathe for fear of missing a word. This is good. But if, after I finish speaking, you simply close your notebook, sigh in relief, then stand up and continue along the same old road, that room becomes only a storage place for impressions, not the launch point of a turning. Right listening will always generate a new direction, even if at first it is just a very small step, A very quiet decision that only you and I know. Many times you have thought you must do something grand in order to truly respond. And so you stayed where you were, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for a wave of emotion big enough, waiting for a less busy day, and time went on while you accumulated more and more words heard, but never walked out. I want to break that circle. I want today, in this very quiet room, for an invisible shift to begin within you, a decision to be formed, a trajectory to be adjusted so that when you rise, your steps are no longer drifting, but the steps of one who has received orders. There is a holy paradox you need to grasp for this season. I am calling you into quiet, not so you will be motionless, but so you will change direction. I invite you into silence, not so you can hide, but so you can hear clearly enough to walk without confusion. Still yet shifting, that is what I want to do in your heart. On the outside, no one may notice anything different. You still go to work, still study, still do the housework, still laugh and talk with people as usual. But inside, the direction has tilted by a few degrees from before, and those few degrees, over time, will lead you to a very different shore. There are steps born from silence that look utterly ordinary, no drums, no lights, yet all of heaven knows they are decisive steps. When you choose forgiveness instead of holding on to bitterness, that is a step. When you turn off a screen of temptation and turn to seek me, that is a step. When you open your mouth to tell the truth, though you are trembling, that is a step. It all begins with hearing. But if you stop at hearing, those steps will never be taken. Hearing and going are not two separate worlds. They are like two beats of the same breath, inhaling and exhaling. When you listen to me, you are inhaling truth, life, encouragement, correction. But if you refuse to exhale it through action, through choices, through attitude, your soul will become heavy, full of knowledge, but short on life, full of understanding, but lacking movement. Many of my children are stuck here. They enjoy sitting and listening, enjoy filling notebooks, enjoy collecting striking quotes, but they are afraid to step into the uncertain, afraid of others' reactions, afraid of losing certain things. And so they stay in the loop of listen, feel moved, stop. Listen, feel moved, stop. I do not rebuke them for coming to hear, but I am grieved that they think that is everything. My child, I want to bring you out of that circle. I want to teach you how to let every word you have heard become a concrete direction, however small. When you begin to ask me, Lord, because I have heard this, what is the step I need to take today? Then hearing has become direction, no longer collection. Remember, I am the one who speaks a word, and the universe comes into being. And I am also the one who said, "Go to Abraham." And he left his father's house not knowing where he was going. I am the one who said, "Get up and walk to the paralytic on his mat." And long dead legs carried him. I am the one who caused those sitting in darkness to hear a word and rise out of their prisons. Those stories were not written so that you would simply find them beautiful and moving. They were written so that you would see, listening is only the first half of the miracle. The other half is in the step. The miracle does not lie entirely in the voice. It bursts forth when someone dares to move with that voice. You have asked me to show you miracles, to let you live in a season of breakthrough, to experience new grace, but are you willing for what you hear to become where you go? Are you willing for your feet to step from the silence of the prayer room into places that break old patterns? Are you willing to let me reroute the paths you walk every day? I am not asking you to run. I am inviting you to step, but it must be a real step, not an imagined one. My child, I speak to you like this, not to place a heavy pressure on your shoulders, but to awaken a new drive within you, a drive that does not come from passing emotion, but from inner clarity. You were not born to sit and listen forever. You were born to listen and then take your place. When direction becomes clear, your steps are no longer reluctant. When you understand that hearing me is not the final goal, but the ignition point for a life journey with me, you will fear mistakes less, fear failure less, because you will know that every small step taken from a word you have heard carries weight before me. I will not let you walk alone. Every step you take from the silence will echo in the unseen, and I will use them to weave a path that will astonish you when you look back. So from this moment on, every time you hear my voice, do not stop at the question, "What do I feel?" Go on to the question, "Where will I go with this?" And you will see, the new season you long for is not only a season of deep words, but a season of quiet steps that carry great weight. The new season you are entering is not announced with flutes and banners. It does not display itself through overwhelming emotion that human eyes love to see. It arrives as gently as dawn slipping through a crack in the door. Many assume that spiritual movement must be accompanied by noise, by a sense of shaking, by long gatherings and thunderous declarations, but the place where I work deepest is often the place where no one hears anything at all. One day, you will realize that the boundary between old and new is not drawn at the height of your feelings, but at a quiet decision in your heart you will stand. That decision has no fireworks, no stage, no photographs, but it is heavy, like a stone sinking to the bottom of a lake, and from it, every ripple begins. Others may not know what happened, but heaven sees it clearly. A soul is no longer lying still in the comfort zone, but is stood up on the inside. In life, there are many moments no one celebrates, no one applauds, yet they are the milestones of destiny. You remember times when you just sat in a chair, staring at the floor, mind wandering from exhaustion, wondering if your life could ever be different. Then came a tiny moment, almost invisible to anyone else, when you placed your hand on the armrest and stood up. On the outside, it was nothing special, but inside, something shifted. You were no longer collapsed in disappointment. You stood to continue. It is the same in your soul. The new season does not begin when everything feels spectacular, but when you choose a different posture within. I see what others do not see. I see when your heart decides, I will stand with truth, even when every voice around me pulls me to sit back down. I see when you choose to hold on to faith, even when the invitation to quit sounds more reasonable. I see when you step out of the old place, even with trembling feet. In my eyes, that is the real thunder. A straight tree does not prove its strength by noise, but by its posture. When the wind rises, the stronger the wind, the more the tree reveals what is inside. Deep roots, a solid trunk, sap flowing silently. You may not hear the roots drive into the soil, but the earth hears. You may not see the sap moving in the wood, but it flows. Many think a new season comes when they see miracles on the outside, but often the new season arrives when the inner roots have gone deep enough to withstand the storms ahead. You cannot decide the strength of the wind, but you can decide the posture of the tree. Standing upright does not mean you are never struck by gusts. It means you are not broken. Some days the wind is a gentle breeze that rustles leaves. Some days it is a gale that bends the trunk low. Yet when the storm passes, the tree is still standing. That is what I want in you, not a life without wind, but a heart that knows how to stand. A new season is first marked on the inside, where no one is watching, where no one is scoring, where there is no such thing as the perfect angle. It is the moment when your heart stops wavering between two stances, stops shifting posture according to feelings or the opinions of others. It is when you know you cannot continue being half-hearted. No more half for me and half for yourself. No more seasons of saying you are preparing, yet never standing up to do anything. A new season begins when you say one sentence in your heart: enough. Not enough because of exhaustion, but enough because of clarity. You cannot stay in the comfort zone and expect the fruit of the battlefield. I call you out of analysis, out of the spectator's seat, out of the waiting room of delay. You may not shout. No one may ever know. Yet if you stand on the inside, all of heaven records that moment as the opening of a new chapter. There are decisions that make a great sound in the spirit without making any sound on the earth. People assume that something must be loud to be real. But I know the truest things are often the quietest. Your new season will not begin with excitement, but with steady certainty. That certainty does not raise its voice, it simply stands firm. Many ask me for miracles, yet the moment they stand up on the inside, the miracle has already begun. For when you stand with me, I stand with you. When your posture changes, the winds of your life change. When you stand straight within, everything else begins to find its position around that stance. Others may look and say, nothing has changed. Yet in the spiritual world, borders have been redrawn. Do not underestimate what happens inside, for that is where I work first. My timing never appears on any calendar hanging on a wall. It is not printed in red numbers for people to announce. Today is a special day. It is quiet as breath. Yet, when it comes, everything shifts. People love to pin expectations on months, years. After work settles, after life gets quieter, after they become stronger, people count by dates. I count by rhythm. No one can predict sunrise by an alarm clock. Yet when the sun decides to rise, the whole world becomes bright. In the same way, my timing in your life does not come because of appointments, but because your heart has reached the right ripeness, the right softness, the right emptiness, the right readiness. You may ask me, when, and I may remain silent as stone, not because I do not hear, but because I do not answer in the way clocks demand. I answer by placing something weightier in your chest, a knowing no one taught you, a new rhythm, like the footsteps of dawn crossing your threshold. You have often thought there must be a big event, a grand confirmation, a strange coincidence before you can say the season has come. Yet most true transitions in my design arrive like sunrise. No one commands it. No one advertises it. No one sees the exact second it rises above the horizon. But suddenly light is everywhere. My timing is like that. It does not need drums. Yet it shifts the atmosphere. You may live days that seem ordinary. Then suddenly you realize there is a different stillness, a different longing, a clarity where you once felt tired. That is a signal. You do not need to run outside and shout it, nor write in your journal with a large headline. Today everything changed. Everything I do deeply usually begins as a whisper. I do not build seasons with noise. I build with rhythm. Many times you compared yourself to others. Why has my life not turned the page like theirs? Why do I not see what they see? Did I miss something? You look at people with your eyes. I look at you with roots. You see the surface unchanged, I see your heart ripening. A fruit can crack its skin in 1 minute, but the entire season before that minute was silent sap gathering. There are moments in your heart that heaven marks with golden ink. Though no one else notices, moments when you realize you cannot live by human clocks anymore. The beauty of the new season is not that it matches anyone else's calendar, but that it surprises a feeling no one can measure. Only you and I know. When I touch you, you know, not by reasoning, but by recognition, not by logic, but by awareness. The heartbeat of heaven is not measured by a watch, it is measured by my breath in your chest. Pay attention to small things. You wake up in the morning and feel an unexplainable peace. You sit in your room at night and the space feels thicker, as if there is a presence you did not create. A familiar verse suddenly shines, as though someone lit a candle inside it. A casual remark becomes a sword that opens a vein of water. All these are signals of my rhythm. Do not dismiss them because they are quiet. People love fireworks, but I love sunrise because it does not blaze for a minute and fade. It remains all day. I do not need you to prepare a stage, hang banners, or write summaries. I only want your heart to open when I knock. And when the door opens, the season arrives. People will ask, "When did you change?" You will not know what to answer, because there was no marked moment, only a steady flow. And suddenly you are standing on the other shore. You once thought there must be a meeting, a prophecy, a public confirmation for a moment to be God's timing. But look again at Scripture. When I spoke to Samuel, the night was quiet. The lamp in the temple was nearly out. Only one voice calling 3 times, and history changed. When John the Baptist saw Jesus by the river, there was no crackling fire or angel's trumpet, only one sentence: "Behold, the Lamb of God." When Elijah passed his mantle to Elisha, there was no conference, only a cloak thrown over his shoulder while plowing. My timing is always like this, quiet, but razor sharp. If you chase noise, you miss rhythm. But when you learn to be still, you begin to hear each shift in the spirit. That is why I invite you into stillness before I invite you into movement, not to make you sleep, but to help you hear. You may live in a crowd, yet my rhythm will call you alone. You may hear many plans, many timelines, many strategies, yet I will place something else inside you: recognition. When that recognition comes, you will not need to persuade yourself, will not need to strain to think whether it is time yet. You will simply know, as a mother knows labor has begun not by a clock, but by her body. As a farmer knows the soil is ready not by formula, but by touching it. When my rhythm arrives, everything else becomes secondary. Things that once made you anxious become light. Words that once made you hesitant lose weight. Doors that once seemed obstacles cease to matter. Then you understand it was not the calendar that changed, but your heart. The sun rises without waiting for people to look. It does not post a notice saying, "I am about to appear." It simply does what it was ordained to do, and the world changes in its light. My timing in your life is the same. I do not call you to race others, I call you to walk in my rhythm. When that rhythm sounds in you, you will walk with quiet certainty, not hurried, not late like someone walking to the beat only they can hear. People will ask, "Why are you so at peace?" and you will have no answer except the knowing that you are walking in my time. That wonder is not loud, it is quiet but deep. It fills you with reverence, because you realize I am not bound by clocks. I am never rushed. I never miss appointments. When you walk by the heartbeat of heaven, Your whole life will learn one truth: I am always on time. Even though my time never aligns with the calendars men write. Not everyone sees what you are seeing. That should not make you proud. Nor should it make you lonely. It simply means that I have opened your eyes toward a direction many are not yet ready to turn. On the same road, two people may see two different worlds. One sees a comfortable seat under the tree's shade. The other sees the hilltop in the distance and wants to keep walking. Many will choose to sit, not because they are wrong or careless, but because they have not yet seen that hill. When light has not yet shone, they think sitting is enough. But you see more. You can no longer remain sitting, not because you are restless, but because a gentle pull is drawing you to stand. I let you see because I have been preparing your heart beforehand. The nights when you could not sleep for no reason, the moments when your heart longed for something unnamed, the situations that would not let you stay the same, all were signs that you were being prepared to stand. Among people, you look no different in clothing, in work, in tone of voice, but in the invisible realm, there is a mark upon you. Others may not recognize it quickly, but I see it very clearly. I have given you sensitivity to what is spiritual softness in heart, but also a strength in your bones. That is why at times you feel you see farther, even without complex reasoning. That is not because you are skilled, it is because I have shown you beforehand. Many need a storm before they stand, but you stand when the wind is only whispering. I delight in that. It is the sign of a heart that has been trained in secret. You do not wait for someone to push you. You stand because inside you already heard my voice. Others may ask you, "Why are you standing?" You will answer, "Because I have seen." I do not give you sight so you can separate yourself in pride. I give you sight so you can stand in the right place and steady others when their time comes. One person standing can become a point of reference for many who are unsure. They will look and realize that standing is possible. You will not speak much, not persuade strongly, not argue loudly. Your posture is enough. A tree standing upright in an open field needs no sign to announce anything. It only stands, and smaller trees find its shade. In daily life, this is not spiritual performance, but very ordinary when you choose honesty, though silence would be easier, when you keep your heart gentle in a difficult conversation, when you say sorry even when the fault is not entirely yours, when you pause to listen before reacting. These small moments are where the posture is trained. The crowd may not see anything changing. They may think you are merely having some emotional season, a religious inspiration, a wave of feeling that will fade. Do not blame them. They look with eyes, but I work in roots. When roots go deep, the trunk will know how to stand when storms come. People sit not because they love sitting, but because they have not yet seen a reason to stand. You do not need to go around shaking them. You only need to stand. When their time comes, I will call them the way I called you. When they look back and see you still standing where you have been standing, they will understand that standing has foundation, not mood. This pleases my heart, one who stands not to display, but to be faithful. There will be days when you wish to sit, hide from the wind, take shelter. I understand, but it is precisely when you feel weakest and still stand that you will feel my strength flow through you. What you see beforehand is not so you can run ahead of the crowd, but so you can prepare for them. I did not choose you because you were strong. I chose you to make you strong. I did not give you vision so you would be alone. I gave it so that when others begin to see, they will find someone who already stands firm. When others still doubt, you will know it is real. When others hesitate, you will walk in peace. When others ask, "Is it time yet?" you will know in your heart the time has come. Not because you see the future like a map, but because you hear the rhythm. That rhythm does not come from logic, but from intimacy. You stand because you know me, not because you know the plan. That is the secret of those who are prepared. Do not worry if no applause has come. Do not wait for recognition to stand. People will understand later. I understand now. I was with you in the nights you thought yourself strange, out of sync. I know how many times you asked, "Is it only me who feels this?" No. You were never alone. I was there. I am the one who placed that within your heart long before you knew it. You were chosen not to be above others, but to serve others. You are trusted not to stand alone on a high peak, but to have the strength to reach back for those who come after. You see early not to boast, but to be patient. When others fear the wind, you will know the wind cannot destroy a tree with roots. What I am doing in you is very gentle, yet very strong. It makes no noise, yet it causes the lake bed to tremble. It needs no fireworks, yet it makes the dawn rise. That is the strength of what belongs to me. When you stand, you will feel a strange lightness, as though the weight rests in the right place on your shoulders. You no longer try to hold a posture, you simply stand. And from that posture, many things will begin to realign in your life. Priorities, relationships, words, habits, not because you force them, but because standing has become your new identity. I have prepared you for this hour. No one can take from you what I have planted. Others will see in their time. But you have already seen. That is a sign of calling. Many think that standing is about muscle, about outward posture, about strength in the legs. But before the body changes, the heart has been standing for a long time. True posture does not begin in flesh, but in the place no hand can reach. When the heart changes its position, the body only follows a truth already decided. There are moments when you sit quietly, hands on your knees, eyes on the floor. No one sees anything different, but deep in your chest a new foundation has formed. Not a slab of concrete, but a spiritual ground firmer than stone, softer than earth, yet unmoved by weather. That is the deciding place. People may see you sitting, but I see you standing. The outward posture comes later, but I seal what happens inside first. Standing with your feet is only the result. Standing with your heart is the beginning. There are days your legs are tired, your knees tremble, your body exhausted by the contrary winds of life, yet your heart stands. That is why you do not collapse. When people ask you, "How do you endure?" you have no easy answer, because you do not endure by your own strength, but by the foundation within. That foundation is not something you poured in a day. It has been built through many silent nights. Many times you poured your heart before me when no one knew. Every time you chose obedience in something small. Every time you spoke truth, though silence was easier. Every time you forgave while the memory still hurt. A stone was set into the foundation. Outwardly, no one sees a structure, but I do. I hear the sound of stones touching within your chest, like the building of a wall around the soul. Others only see a shy smile, but I see a sharp weapon. Standing begins there where the heart chooses direction, even while the body still trembles. Imagine a tree trunk in the morning. People see the trunk and the leaves, but no one sees the roots. What keeps the tree standing is not the trunk, but what lies beneath the soil. Roots go deep. The earth opens. The nature of the wood is strengthened by wind and sun and rain. No one applauds the roots because roots are not beautiful. No one takes pictures of roots because roots are not in the light. Yet the roots decide everything: resilience, height, shade. Your heart is like that. There are inner parts you once believed no one needed to know, no one should see. Yet I choose to work there. I open the soil of your heart like a gardener turning the ground. At times you feel pain. At times you feel the soil inside you overturning. But when I stir the earth, it is so the roots may find new places to hold. Stability does not come from trying to balance, but from roots planted in the right place. Some people stand by force of will and then collapse, but you are invited to stand by rest. Rest is not laziness. Rest is not giving up. Rest is knowing that the wind cannot define your identity. When you stand by heart, not by pride, not by self-importance, but by the steady peace that comes from me, you will discover a strange strength, not the strength of tension, but the strength of weight. There is a difference between trying to stand and being stood. Trying to stand uses your own strength. Being stood uses foundation. When your heart is on the right foundation, every part of you follows. The foundation in the chest is where I touch before I ever call your feet to walk. I do not push you into the wind to see whether you are strong. I plant roots first, then I call you out. That is why you endure. That is why storms do not break you. Even in moments you thought you would snap. Standing by heart is deep honesty. There are days when you want to pretend to be strong, pretend to smile, pretend you are at peace. But when the heart stands, you no longer need pretense. You can admit tiredness, admit pain, admit weakness, and still not fall. You do not need to deny the wind to stand. You only need to know where the roots are. When you know what holds you, you no longer fear losing face, no longer fear failure, no longer fear what others think. Inner standing does not need display. It is quiet. It is solid. It is like a deep well. Those who walk by may not know water is there, but the thirsty will find it. There will be those who are thirsty who come to you not because you teach much, but because you stand. They will look for shade, look for comfort, look for peace, and you will not need to produce anything for them. Peace will flow out from where your roots touch the source. The secret of this season is here. I am not looking for people who perform standing. I am looking for those who truly stand from within. Such people do not grow rigid, but soft and deep. They do not swing swords endlessly. They still laugh, still do housework, still drink coffee, still pick up children from school. But inside, there is a foundation that does not move. No one sees it, yet everything rests upon it. I work where no applause is heard, so that when the moment comes, you can stand in the wind without straining. Some days the wind will be strong. Some days the wind will change direction. Some days there will be no wind at all. Yet the tree remains upright, and the sun rises over that tree day after day. This is how I shape your standing from the inside out, from roots to trunk, from heart to feet. The soil of your heart has been turned for many seasons. You have shed tears in seasons no one understood. You have called to me in long nights no one heard. You thought yourself weak. Yet, in those very moments, I was anchoring roots. Now you find yourself standing, not because you are unbreakable, but because I have woven foundation into your chest. Others may think you are silent, but in truth, you are listening to rhythm. Others may see you as ordinary, but in truth, you are standing. Standing by heart is a delicate holiness, not showy, not stubborn, not rebellious, but steady. A soul that stands will bring an entire life to stand. Therefore, keep your roots deep in me. Do not worry about the sound of the wind. Wind is the test of the branches, but roots are the answer. Some believe that standing is a matter of strength, of personality, of inner courage, but that is not your source. You do not stand because you are stronger than others. You stand because you belong to me. This is the crucial truth your soul must remember in this season. Because if you think you must stand by your own strength, you will soon grow tired, soon waver, soon be crushed by expectations I never placed on you. I did not ask you to make yourself a hero. I asked you to stand near me. Your strength does not come from inner muscle, but from position you stand within, my arm. When you stand in my shadow, wind may blow, waves may strike, but the roots are not uprooted, not because the tree is rigid, but because it is planted where I am. You stand because you belong. There is a protection that is soft and strong, like a cloak over your shoulders. No one hears the sound of the cloak. It is not noisy. It is not flashy, but it keeps warm, keeps safe, keeps identity. When I place that cloak upon you, you do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to argue that you have worth. You do not need to hold up signs declaring you are chosen. Others may not see that cloak with natural eyes, but heaven sees, hell sees. When the enemy looks at you, it looks through the cloak first. It sees identity before it sees a person. It knows you do not stand alone, and so it cannot pull you down in the way it pulls others, not because you are wiser, stronger, or smarter, but because you bear the mark of belonging. If I am with you, who can be against you is not a religious slogan, but a spiritual reality. Belonging to me is not a phrase. It is a fact. That fact walks with you from the moment you open your eyes in the morning to the moment you lie down at night. I do not circle around you like a supervisor. I dwell in you like breath. When you stand, you do not stand beside me. You stand in me, like a soldier who stands within a fortress, not in an open field. A fortress is not built in a day. It is stone upon stone, wall upon wall. Your life is the same every small act of obedience, every time you chose me instead of the easy way, every tear you shed out of honesty. All are stones of that stronghold. No one is surprised that a soldier on the wall is not afraid of the wind. They know the wall was built long before, through many seasons of labor. So it is with you. You do not stand because you are daring. You stand because you are within my fortress. There are times you look around and see others sitting comfortably, safe, untouched by storms, and you wonder if you are wrong to stand. Do not let appearances deceive you. Sitting is not always peace, and standing is not always risk. True well-being does not come from places with less wind, but from places where I am. You stand in the wind because I am there. No one stands in open space and feels warm unless there is a cloak. No one walks far with a calm heart unless they know they belong. When you know I belong to you and you belong to me, a deep peace appears, not the peace of lack of danger, but the peace of certainty. That peace is not purchased by avoiding risk. It is given by presence. If I am with you is the root, who can be against you is the result. In many moments you will feel a little alone, not because you have been abandoned, but because you are walking a step ahead of others. Those who are still seated do not understand why you stand. They think you are stubborn or too serious. But I know your heart is not proud. You are simply listening to rhythm. When you stand, you are not standing against people. You stand because of me. That is the important difference. You do not need to argue, defend yourself, or explain too much. One who is wrapped in a mantle does not need to advertise it. They simply walk in rhythm. I do not want you to stand with tension. I want you to stand with lightness. Light, because you know you are not straining. Light, because you know that belonging to me is the heaviest thing in life. And when what is heavy is placed in the right place, everything else becomes light. The world looks at standing through the lens of achievement. I look at standing through the lens of belonging. I do not seek those with broad shoulders. I seek those with open hearts. When you open your heart, I place a mantle upon you. When you receive my name, I seal you. When you say yes, even while trembling, I lay my hand on your shoulder. No many words are needed, only belonging. There are days when only you and I know that this has happened. That is the secret of those who stand. They do not stand for themselves. They stand because they know they are held in love. Who can be against you sounds like a challenge, but it is actually a reassurance you do not have to manage alone. When you feel weak, I am not disappointed. I draw closer. You do not have to be strong to stand. You only have to be near me. And when you are near me, you stand. Many wait until they are no longer afraid to stand. But if you must wait for your heart to be perfectly calm, you will never stand. Fear is not a sign that you do not belong to me. Sometimes it only shows that you are still human, still have a beating heart, still have something to lose, still have something to love. I do not require you to become stone in order to stand. I only ask that you do not let fear hold the reins. Fear may still be present, like a shadow in the corner, like a quickened heartbeat in your chest. But when you step, that shadow no longer leads. This is the spiritual paradox. The heart trembles, but the feet do not retreat. I do not call you away from humanity. I call you into courage within your humanity. This is what makes your standing beautiful. Because it is not a performance, it is real. There will be mornings when you wake with a sigh, with a heaviness, with a quiet question, can I continue? And in that question, another sound will rise. You are not alone. You get out of bed, not because fear has vanished, but because my word is stronger than fear. When you stand upon cold floor with a sleepy mind, that too is a step of faith. Many think faith is a leap into the grand, but sometimes it is simply rising from a chair when your heart wants to stay seated. Courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is a deep breath. When you calmly choose to stand, fear loses its rule. It does not disappear, but it is quiet. You are no longer held by it. You may hear its voice, but you do not follow it. I see those who stand while still trembling. I know the cost of a foot placed down in the midst of whispered doubts in your mind. I feel the tight places in your heart when you think of the future. The places where old memories still tug. The words of others that once hurt you and still linger somewhere. I do not ask you to erase all those patterns before you stand. I only want you to know they no longer rule you. You will learn that standing is not the absence of weakness. Standing is feeling weak and choosing a position. Standing is knowing the wind is strong and choosing not to sit down. Standing is knowing you could fall, yet trusting that I will hold. Fear will try to whisper, sit, do nothing unusual. But my voice is gentle and firm, stand with me. In this world, fear often demands obedience. It wants you to shrink, to stay small, to stay silent. It tells you safety is in not changing. But true safety is not found where there is no wind. It is found where I am. Not everything comfortable is good, and not everything challenging is dangerous. You do not need to drive fear away before you step. You only need to step with me. When you put your foot down on the path I lead, fear will follow, but it will lose authority. It may speak, but it no longer decides. Your feet may tremble, but your feet still move. This is freedom in me. One who is not ruled by fear is free, not because they no longer fear, but because they are no longer held captive. I have watched many wait for emotional perfection before acting, and they have missed their season. When they waited for perfect peace, the door closed. When they waited for their eyes to dry, the sun had already risen. I grieve for them, yet I want you not to follow that road. The deepest peace does not come before the step, it comes within the step. When you choose to stand, your heartbeat may still be fast, but each step will slow your breath, and you will feel something strange, not confidence in yourself, but confidence in me. That confidence is the foundation. You do not rein fear with willpower, you place it in my hands. When you belong to me, you stand, and everything else finds its place around that standing. There will be days when you walk out into wind and noise, and realize that fear still speaks, but it no longer speaks loudly. It becomes a distant sound, while my voice is near. You will stand in your work, in your family, in relationships, not with hardness on the outside, but with quiet within. Others will ask why you are steady. You will not speak much. You will simply know that fear does not rule you anymore. When you choose to stand, what you feared losing is kept. What you feared facing becomes light. What you feared remembering becomes clear. This is the freedom of this season. I do not require you to be without fear. I require you to stand though afraid. I do not ask you to tense. I ask you to breathe. And in that breath, you will know you are not held captive. One reason many sit is because they are not sure where they stand. And they are not sure where they stand because they do not know who they are. When the inner map is blurry, every step is hesitant, afraid of being wrong, afraid of being lost, afraid of being seen. But when identity is clear, the path brightens. You do not stand in order to create identity. You stand because identity is already given. I named you before you knew your own name. I placed in you a seal no one else can carry. When you know this, you will see that your place is not a where, but a who. Your place is in me. Not a location, not a title, not a role, but a relationship. When that is clear, the map is no longer blurry, not because you know every detail, but because you know to whom you belong. There will be times in life when you sit in a crowd and feel directionless, as if everyone else knows where they are going and you do not. They do this. They follow that. They are excited. They are busy. You look around and wonder, should I be like them? But what I am doing in you is not to make you find direction in the crowd, but to bring you back to the place where my name touches you. When you know the name I have placed on you, your place becomes clear. You can stand still without being lost. You can stand alone without being lonely. You can stand amid noise and still hear my rhythm. Others run here and there to find where they belong. You stand and know you already belong. That is true freedom. The clearest picture is of a person standing on the ground. The ground does not ask for qualifications. It simply holds. You do not have to deserve to stand. You only need to know your place. When you stand on true identity, no wind can push you out of place. Others may suggest, may criticize, may invite you to follow them. But inside you will sense this is not my place. That clarity does not rise from pride, but from belonging. Belonging to me is foundation. If the foundation is firm, the steps are firm. If the foundation shakes, every step trembles. That is why I do not begin with directions. I begin with identity. You do not ask, where should I go, before you ask, who am I, when the second question is answered in me. The first becomes simple. Imagine the map in your hand. When it is blurry, you bend down, trying to guess every line. Every word, you worry. You fear going wrong. But when the map is clear, you lift your head, your eyes brighten, your heart is at peace. So it is in the soul when you do not know who you are. You walk with your head down, watching every step in fear. When you know you belong to me, you lift your head and walk, not because you know every detail, but because you trust that every place I lead has meaning. When you know you are my sheep, you do not have to search for every turn. You only need to listen to my voice. My voice will not lead you astray. Clear identity makes the path bright, even when the path flashes only one step at a time. There will be days when all you need to do is stand on the very name I have given you and stand. Others will misunderstand, will doubt, will insist you should sit or follow another direction. They do not know that your place is anchored in my name. You will not need to argue, not need to fight to protect your image, not need to display strength. You only need to stand where I called you, like a person standing on land that belongs to them. When you stand on your name, you stand on heaven's acknowledgement. No one can steal that from you. No one can replace your name with another. My name on you is both wall and road. It shelters and it leads. It guards and it opens. I know you have wandered trying to find your role, your fit, people who understand you. I have watched you, and I have had compassion on you. But this season is different. You will no longer run everywhere seeking approval. You will stand, and the standing itself will confirm you, not because you raise your voice, but because you are in the right place, not because you try to prove anything, but because you know who put you there. When you know you belong to me, your heart becomes clear like a lake after rain, reflecting every light without distortion. From that clarity, you will know your next step. You will no longer ask, "Am I enough?" You will ask, "Lord, is this my place?" And I will answer. The path will show itself step by step. Light will appear in segments. But the clearest thing is not the location, it is identity. When you know who you are in me, you know where you stand. There are many who stand only because others are standing and they grow weary. Because that strength does not come from within. But you are not called to reflect others, you are called to reflect me. Your model is not the faces around you, but the imprint of my image upon your soul. When you stand to resemble me, you will feel a strange freedom. Because this standing is not forced, not compared, not weighed. It carries no scent of pressure, but the fragrance of peace. You do not need to strain so others will see strength. You do not need to mold yourself to fit any group. You do not need to compete. You do not need to seize attention. Light does not compete. That is why you stand. Some will ask why you do this. Why you do not do that? Why you are not running after what they are pursuing? You do not have to answer everything. You only need to stand according to my handprint upon you. I did not place my mark on you so you would blend into the crowd. I placed it so you would become unique while still belonging. Time will prove. Fruit will speak. Peace will testify. No arguing. No persuading. No proving worth. No fighting for position. No chasing approval. No pleasing for acceptance. You only need to resemble me. When you resemble me, everything else finds its place. That joy is pure, because it is not built on others agreeing, but on me being pleased. The world loves molds, labels, uniformity. If you look like them, you will be loved. If you differ, you will be suspected. But I do not shape you to please people's eyes. I form you after my image, and my image is not a copy. No one else carries my fingerprint on your shoulder. No one has the heartbeat I placed in your chest. No one sees from the angle I gave you in the nights when you were silent. You will realize that uniqueness is not pride, it is obedience. You do not stand to be praised. You stand because I said stand. You do not walk to attract attention. You walk because I have gone before you. Then standing becomes worship. Walking becomes love. There is an anaphora I have written on your soul with the fire of truth. You do not need to resemble others to be loved. You do not need to resemble others to be safe. You do not need to resemble others to be blessed. You do not need to resemble others to be seen. You do not need to resemble others to be used. You do not need to resemble others to be right. You are not a product of the crowd. You are a creation woven by my hand. When you accept this, you will feel light, because the burden of comparison falls off your shoulders. You will feel joy, because you are allowed to be what I made. You will shine, because light is not filtered through someone else's mold. Standing to resemble me will make some people confused. They will think you are strange, too serious, too quiet, too different. They will want you to return to the old mold, to the old chair, to the familiar rhythm. That is not because they are bad, but because they have not yet seen what you have seen. I do not blame them, but I call you not to let them shape you. My handprint is a mark in the sand that cannot be erased. Rain may fall, wind may blow, yet the mark remains, not on the ground, but on your soul. So do not stand to resemble others. Stand to resemble me. When you resemble me, you stand in the right place. When you stand in the right place, heaven opens. And when heaven opens, you will know this is true, freedom. When your heart begins comparing, your knees grow weak. Not because the knees have lost function, but because the heart has lost foundation. Comparison is sand fine, soft, shifting, and whatever stands on it becomes unstable. You may stand on sand for a moment, but when the wind comes, you feel a subtle yet real sinking. You try to steady yourself by willpower, try to keep upright by thought, yet your legs still tremble. Sand is the image of endless questions that do not lead to life. What do they think of me? Am I as good as them? Why are they seen while I am not? The more questions, the finer the sand, and you sink without realizing. The exhaustion of many souls does not come from work, but from the sand of comparison. They wake each day with shaky legs, not from physical fatigue, but because the ground beneath them is too soft. Truth, by contrast, is rock. Rock is not as appealing as sand. Sand is soft, smooth, pleasant to the touch. Rock is not smooth, rock is hard. sometimes cold, sometimes dry, but rock holds. Scripture says, "Whoever hears my words and does them is like a man who built his house on the rock." Truth does not come first to make you feel comfortable. It comes to make you stand firm. When you stand on rock, the wind still blows, the rain still falls, but the foundation does not move. Stability does not mean there is no storm. It means you have a place to stand in the storm. When you know the truth, your footing is secure. Others may shout, circumstances may shake, but the root within you does not. That is true peace, not the peace of silence, but the peace of a solid foundation. I see you in those moments when you are standing on the wet floor of your emotions, where everything is slippery, a criticism, a strange look, a careless word from someone, and suddenly you feel shaken. You do not know whether to keep going or sit down. In a bathroom with a wet floor, one careless step is enough to make someone fall. The soul is the same when it stands on the floor of feelings. Emotions change like water on the tiles, dry in the morning, wet by afternoon, cold by night. If you stand on that, every small slip becomes a panic. People fall easily when their feet are on slippery things. You are not called to set your feet on feelings. You are called to set your feet on truth. Truth is rock. I do not blame you for the times you have compared yourself. Comparison comes as naturally as breathing for those who do not yet know they belong. But when you learn truth, your breathing changes, your heartbeat changes, your ground changes. You begin to see that comparison is not truth, it is a temptation that makes you look at others instead of at me. When your eyes are on others, you lose balance, like someone walking on a narrow plank while staring down at the water. But when your eyes are on me, you can walk on the water. You do not walk on water by sheer willpower, only by looking. Truth is not just information, truth is vision. When you look at me, your feet become steady, not because the storm grows smaller, but because your eyes are no longer fixed on it. There are people who stand for a very long time without knowing why they are still standing, without knowing why they do not fall when the wind comes. It is because they do not compare. They know who they are in me. They are grateful for what I have placed in them. They do not look left or right. They look straight ahead. And so each step is light. The one who compares is always tired, not because they do too much, but because they carry too much. Every time they look at someone else, they have to adjust their posture, change how they stand, tense their muscles to resemble. After a few steps, they are exhausted. But the one who knows truth is simple. They stand as themselves. Truth makes the legs stop straining. Truth is foundation, not burden. In your life, you have known days standing on sand and days standing on rock. You know the feeling of both. On the days you stand on sand, you long to be seen, to be understood, to be praised, to not be forgotten. Those desires wear your heart out. But on the days you stand on rock, you no longer need those things. You only need me. And when you have me, you are light. Others may praise or criticize, but they cannot make you fall, because your source is not in them. When the source is in the right place, your feet stand right. When the source is wrong, your feet tremble. I want to teach you a secret for this season. You do not need to prove yourself. Proving is the burden of those who stand on sand. Those on sand must constantly speak, explain, justify, maintain an image. But those who stand on rock can be silent and still be secure. Silent not because they are weak, but because they do not need to speak. The rock answers for them. When others look at them, they see steadiness, not in the sound, but in the way that person stands. When you stand on rock, you do not display your firmness, you simply show your trust. Trust is rock. True trust flows from truth, and truth is me. When you know the truth, you no longer need comparison to find direction. You simply set your back to me and your face toward where I lead. Everything else fades. This is because you are no longer pulled by ambition or fear. You are drawn by my word. My word will not return to me empty. That word is the rock under your feet. I have spoken, and what I have spoken will hold you. You may not feel it in a given moment, but the foundation is still there. Sometimes you stand on it in the dark, feeling alone and thinking you are lost. But when dawn breaks, you realize that foundation has never shifted. That is why you were not swept away. The world loves sand, because sand is easy to shape. People can stamp footprints in the sand, build castles on the sand, draw figures in the sand, but sand does not hold. One wave, one gust of wind, one change of season, and everything disappears. The only thing that remains is rock. I call you to stand on rock, not on sand. Others may prefer the sand, they will praise it. Invite you to play on it. Laugh there. Shout there. Rejoice there. But when the waves come, the laughter ceases. I am not against joy, but I want your joy to stand on something real. Joy on rock is deeper than laughter on sand. Standing on rock carries a safety that is not easily lost. There are mornings when you walk barefoot across a wet floor and slip a little. You know that feeling, heart jolting, hands flailing, breath pausing. I do not want you to live like that in your spiritual life. I want you to know that the ground beneath you does not slide. I want you to walk on rock with a restful heart. When you know the truth, your steps are firm. You do not have to stare down at every centimeter of ground to be sure. You lift your head. Those who walk on rock look at the sky more. Those who walk on sand watch the ground more. I want you to look at the sky. This season is not for you to compare. It is for you to stand. Not to see who is higher or lower, first or last, praised or noticed. This season is for you to know what you are standing on. If you stand on the sand of opinion, you will be weary. If you stand on the rock of truth, you will be steady. I do not ask you to understand everything before you stand. I only ask you to place your feet in the right place. That place is me. When you know the truth, your feet are firm. Comparison weakens your steps. Knowing truth makes them sure. Do not let sand decide your stride. Let rock decide it. There is a deeply rooted misconception in many hearts that they must stand to prove they are worthy. They stand in strain, in tension, in fear of being judged if they step back. But that standing is exhausting. It does not flow from love, but from anxiety, not from belonging, but from pressure. I do not call you to stand like that. You do not stand to prove your value. You stand because you already have value. Your standing is not a performance, not a self-promotion campaign. It is the fruit of identity. You stand not so people will notice, but so I may see. And I have seen you long before you ever stood. Those who chase value will always fear losing it. Those who know they have value are light. Light like the crown I place on your head, not heavy so you must strain, but enough for you to remember who you are. That crown is not the gold of this world, nor jewels admired by human eyes. but a quiet affirmation understood by heaven. Not everyone sees it, but the enemy does. It knows when you wear the crown I give. It cannot steal it. It can only try to make you forget you are wearing it. So the battle is not to obtain the crown, but to remember you already bear it. When you remember, you stand a little taller, not out of pride, but naturally. No one bows their head to keep a crown from falling. Those who wear it must lift their gaze. There are days when you think you are not worthy. Old mistakes pass through your memory like long shadows stretching across the floor. You hear accusations from the past, sounds that are no longer clear, yet still leave a mark. You look at others and see them more confident, speaking boldly, walking quickly, while you tremble. In those moments, you think you must strain to make up for something. But I say you do not stand to compensate. You stand because I have called. You stand because I have loved. You stand because I have appointed the day and the hour. Honor does not come after you become perfect. Honor comes when you step out of the shadows and say, I am here. That honor is not founded on your past, but on covenant. This covenant I have signed in blood, not by your merit. There is a deep healing when the soul knows it is loved without having to try. A child wears the crown of a king not because it is skilled, but because it is the king's child. It does not have to compete to be chosen. It is chosen because it belongs to the king. So it is with you. I do not tell you to stand to prove anything. I tell you to stand to receive. When you stand in love, standing is not exhausting. When you stand in fear of abandonment, you will shake. But I do not abandon you. I do not watch you from a distance. I stand beside you, my hand on your shoulder, not to force you, but to remind you you belong. You are mine. That is the reason you stand. When you forget this, you will try to build your worth out of what you do, what you achieve, how others see you. But when you remember, you will breathe deeper. You will realize that your worth does not lie in applause, nor in admiring glances, nor in how many people understand you, but in the fact that I know you. I have known you from the dust of the beginning. I have known you from your first cry. I have known you through your old wounds. I have known you through interrupted nights. I was there before every success, before every failure. I came before you ever came to me. So you do not stand to be seen. You stand because I have seen you. Many fear standing because they think they must constantly prove themselves. They fear judgment. They fear not measuring up. They fear being wrong. But do not take up that burden again. You do not need to prove what I have already certified. When I call you beloved, that is certification. When I place my love upon you, that is certification. When I redeem you by blood, that is certification. Who can add to that? Who can take anything away? You stand because you are loved, not in order to be loved. When your motivation shifts from striving to receiving, the soul becomes soft, and in that softness is strength. I see in this world many who have lost their honor because they tried to build it with their own hands out of sand. They crave recognition, to be named, to be esteemed, and in wanting too much, they grow tired, bitter, and lose their peace. You will not walk that path. You do not need to be prominent. You need to be true. A true person shines more than a captivating one. A true soul carries more weight than a loud soul. I call you to stand in truth. You are my child. That alone is enough to define honor. Remember the moments I touched you in the quiet. No lights, no audience, no applause. only your breath and mine. In those moments, you knew you were loved. You wept not from pain, but from relief. You whispered, "Thank you." Those moments are the foundation. They create your standing. It is not the stage that makes you strong, but the secret place. It is not the crowd that makes you confident, but the hidden room. I place the crown on you behind closed doors. When you step out, you do not need to carry the crown in your hands. It rests upon your head. Others may not see it, but heaven sees it. And what heaven sees is what is most real. A person who knows their worth does not fight for a seat. They do not need to push. They do not need to defend themselves. They do not need many words. Their silence is weighty. Their gentleness endures, not because they are indifferent, but because they are at rest in me. You will taste this in the new season when you know you are loved. You will speak less, but carry deeper impact. You will no longer wait for human permission to step forward. You will simply nod to me. That is freedom. The freedom of one who knows they wear a crown. My crown does not lift you above others so you can look down on them. It bends you low so you can lift them up. It makes you gentle. It makes you warm. It restores honor not for display, but to share. When you know your own value, you will not squeeze the value out of others. When you are loved, you will find it easier to love. When you are honored, you will find it easier to honor. That is how the crown works, light yet full of authority, soft yet strong. It does not call attention to itself, but all who come near feel its warmth. You will stand like that. You will walk like that, not to prove anything, but because you have worth. I do not require you to raise your voice so the world will know. I only ask you to stand with an open heart. I will do the rest. Others will look at you and not understand why you are at peace. They will not know that your soul is wearing a light crown. They will sense something about you not high, not low, not showing off, not shrinking back, simply real. And that realness will lead them to me. You do not have to try to do. You only have to be. When you are in me, you are standing rightly. And when you stand rightly, everything arrives in its time. It is not my intention to place you in a wide square and then walk away to see how you will manage. I did not write that story. When I say stand, I do not mean stand alone. Those I call have never been abandoned. People often speak of Daniel in the lion's den and see only this, a righteous man surrounded by fangs. But the real story is something else. Daniel was not standing alone. Because I was there. The jaws were still there. The hot breath still blew. The darkness was still thick. But the power of the fangs was stripped when I stepped in. Daniel stood not because he was brave, but because I was there. So it is with you. You do not stand because you are strong. You stand because I am present. My shadow covers you, and that is enough to change everything. There will be places you step into that feel like a den, not a den of stone, but of circumstances, of people's looks, of mocking words, of misunderstanding. You will feel surrounded by pressure and noise. You will hear voices in your mind saying, maybe you should step back. Maybe you should sit down. Maybe you should choose a safer way. But look carefully, you are not the only one there. In the darkness, there is a greater shadow over you. It is not the shadow of fear, but my own. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. You stand in that shadow. As you stand, my shadow stretches with you across the ground, across the circumstances, across the fear. It comes without thunder, without flashes, but it carries authority. One who stands alone will be tense. One who stands in me will be at peace. There is a deep difference between tension and quiet strength. The tense person fights every word, every look, every sound. The one strong in me does not need to fight, they only need to stand. They do not wage war with their hands, but with their trust. Daniel did not have to break the lion's teeth, did not have to shout, did not have to argue. He simply stood. I did the rest. When I stand with you, danger loses its bite. Its shape remains, but not its power. It will be the same in your life. Many things will look frightening, but when I am there, they are only shapes without teeth. Many think that standing in the middle of opposition is what makes someone heroic, but a true hero is one who knows they are not alone. When you know I stand with you, your heart becomes strangely calm. It is not that you do not hear the voices of opposition, you simply refuse to let them define you. It is not that you do not see the stern faces, you simply know that my face is nearer. It is not that you do not feel the headwind, you simply stand in the shadow of my wings. Many times I do not chase the wind away, I simply cover you. That covering does not make you smaller, it makes you steadier. Like a tree standing in a storm, roots driven deep. The trunk does not break because there is one who holds it. I am not asking you to deny your feelings. I am teaching you to put them in their proper place. Feelings are not your guide, they are only signals. I am the direction. When you listen to my voice, the other voices grow faint. Daniel heard my voice. So the roaring did not make him tremble. So it is with you. Others may not understand why you are at peace in the midst of fearful things. They think you are strong, but you know the truth. It is not because you are strong, but because I am near. There was a moment in the night when the lions walked around him, when their breath brushed Daniel's face, and he still did not panic. Not because he felt nothing, but because he felt something greater. I was there. When you stand in the meeting room, when you stand in your family, when you stand at work, when you stand in loneliness, remember, I stand with you. There are places I do not want you to run from. I want you to stand in them. Not because I want to test you, but because I want to reveal myself. Many miracles do not happen when you run, but when you stand. The Red Sea did not open because of running feet, but because a people stood and saw the salvation of the Lord. I said to them, stand still and see. There are times you must move, times you must act, but there are also times you must simply stand in me. Stand, and what is evil loses its teeth. When Daniel went down into the den, he did not carry a lamp or a sword. He carried what the lions could not bear, my presence. That presence did not make the beasts kind, it removed their power. My presence strips the storm of its authority, the waters of their threat, the fire of its power to burn, the fangs of their power to tear. You will experience this in your life where I am. Things happen differently. I stand with you not as a guest passing through, but as your shelter, your keeper, your companion. My shadow covers you, not like the shade of a tree, but like the wings of an eagle. Never think you are alone when you stand. Loneliness is a feeling, not a fact. The fact is me. One person standing in me is more than an army standing without me. There are times you feel small, but you are not small. You are covered by the Great One. There are times you feel lost, but you are not lost. You stand in the shadow of the one who knows every path. There are times you feel weak, but you are not weak. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. You do not need to hide your trembling. You only need to hand your trembling to me. I do not despise trembling. I simply do not let it rule. So when you step into places where people look at you with suspicion, when they do not understand your choices, when they whisper behind your back, when they wait for you to fall, you do not have to prove anything. You only have to stand. I stand with you. They do not see me, but they will see the result. Not everyone will change their attitude at once, but time will tell. Those who stand with me will stand long. Winds change. Seasons change. Words change. But that person remains. And when others fall because their foundation was sand, that one still stands because the foundation is rock. I am not asking you to stand alone. I am standing with you. My shadow covering you is enough. You do not need more. You do not need human promises. You do not need the commitment of the crowd. You do not need to defend yourself with arguments. You do not need to answer every word. You only need to stand. I am nearer than your breath. You will know. In the quiet of night, in the headwind of day, you will know. And when you know, you are at peace. Those who stand with me never truly stand alone. It is not noise that changes the atmosphere, but presence. Many believe that to have influence they must speak loudly, argue hard, and win with words. But the spiritual realm does not work that way. A gentle breeze can turn the surface of a lake without anyone hearing a sound. Yet when the lake looks back, every ripple has changed. When you stand in the place I have given you, not because you engineered an effect, but because I am present, the atmosphere shifts. I do not come with drums. I come with breath. You do not need to make a scene. You only need to stand. My presence in you is like a soft wind through a field of grain. No one sees the wind, but everyone sees the heads bow. There will be rooms you step into where no one notices you at first. You sit down. You are quiet. You say little, but then you stand, not to draw attention, but to obey. And silently, the atmosphere changes. People do not know why they lower their voices, why they stop mocking, why they feel something stirring inside. It is not because you are strong, but because I am present. When I am present, the air bows. No one commands it. No one announces it. There is simply a subtle movement, like light entering a room. People still talk, still laugh, but something is different. Not fear, reverence. Not darkness, quiet light. When you stand, there is no need to fight back. No need to wave your arms. No need to prove yourself. No need to change people by human strength. You only need to hold your place, and I will do the rest. I will touch the atmosphere. I will break the weight of harsh words. I will soften tight hearts. I will bring truth without noise. You will see this sometimes. One person standing still in the middle of chaos makes the chaos ashamed. Not because they are higher, but because they are heavier. Heavy with presence. Heavy with glory. Heavy with me. For the wind that comes from me does not shove, but causes things to bow. That is power without a sound. I am not calling you to be a loud person. I am calling you to be a weighty person. Spiritual weight is not about tension in your face or stiffness in your posture. It is about depth. Depth comes when you stand in me, not in anxiety. Those who stand in anxiety use words to defend themselves, but those who stand in me are silent and steady. When you are silent, yet steady, others will sense it. They do not sense it with their eyes, but with their hearts. The movement is quiet like a small wind passing through a pine forest. The sound of needles brushing one another is gentle, yet the whole forest changes. You only need to stand. I will move the forest. There will be times when you think you are having no impact. You think you are small. You think no one hears. But I say this, what belongs to me never returns empty. You stand not to create an echo, but to create weight. Weight does not make a sound, but everyone near feels it. When you stand, a spiritual current begins to flow not like a roaring waterfall, but like a clear stream in the rocks. Those who draw near will feel their hearts soften. They will not know why they stop mocking. They will not know why their anger subsides. They will not know why tears come. That is me. I come through presence. There are conversations that would have turned bitter, but you stood still, and the atmosphere changed. You did not need to lecture, only to have me. You did not need to win the argument, only to carry light. Light does not shout. Light does not compete. Light simply shines. When light appears, darkness retreats. There is no need for war. No slogans, no bells, only standing. Scripture says, "Be still, and know that I am God." Knowing does not come through noise. Knowing comes through presence. When you stand with me, you become a place where the atmosphere yields, not to you, but to me. In this new season, you will see something strange. You will stand, and the atmosphere will change, not because you speak loudly, but because I am present. Others will not always know how to put it into words, but they will feel it. They will say, "It feels peaceful near you." They will feel their hearts lighten. Their thoughts will soften. This is not because you tried hard, but because I am with you. A gentle wind will blow. No one sees the wind, but everything shifts, and you will stand, not with weapons, but with stillness. That stillness will be stronger than the noise. That stillness will lay foundations. That stillness will be glorious. You only need to stand. I will change the atmosphere. There is an invisible pressure that makes many believe that to be useful, they must do a lot, say a lot, juggle a lot. But in the spiritual realm, the deepest things do not always come from busy action. Often, simply standing in the right place is the action. You do not have to stir the water to prove that you have influence, as long as you are in the right current. The water will change on its own. I did not call you to be the storm. I called you to be the stone pillar in the stream. The stone pillar does not shout, does not change the color of the sky, does not make thunder, yet the current cannot ignore it. The water parts, direction shifts. The breeze passes over and draws a soft sound on the surface of the river. No one hears the stone, but everyone sees the flow. There will be many days when you feel you are not doing enough. You will think, "I should act more, say more, try more." But I gently remind you, you are not defined by your work, but by your place in me. When you stand in the right place, your very presence is a word, not your word, but mine through you. I do not need you to become the director of every situation. I need you to be the faithful one in the position where I have placed you. There is great freedom in this. You do not have to be everything. You only have to be one thing belong to me, in the right place. In the flow of life, people often run back and forth trying to make something happen. They think that if they do not create noise, They will disappear. But the most important things in the history of redemption did not arrive through noise. The ground shook when I entered. The sea parted when the people stood. The dead came back to life in the silence of the tomb. Power does not need volume. When I am present, things happen. Some people believe that if they do not hold everything together, it will all collapse. But the foundation is not on their shoulders, it is on mine. In this season, what I am teaching you is a paradox. Being present is an action. Remember those mornings when you simply stood by the window, watched the sun rise, said nothing, yet your heart was warmed. You did nothing, yet something in you changed. That is the picture of the spiritual realm when you stand in the right place. Your presence next to me creates movement within you and around you. No forcing, no straining, no grand plan, just being in the right place. When you stand in me, my breath becomes your rhythm. You do not have to be dramatic, you only have to be true. And what is true carries weight. A stone pillar in the stream does not try to block the water. It simply stands. But the water must take it into account. In the same way, you do not need to try to control the flow of life. You only need to stand in me, and everything around you will adjust. Not because you are the center, but because I am in you. Others will sense it. They will not know how to describe it. They will say, "There is something different about you." Not because you preach well, not because you are perfect, not because you shine with achievements, but because you are present in the right place. When a soul stands in me, the atmosphere around it is reshaped. I have seen you try to do so much to keep everything from slipping away. You were tense, worried, constantly managing, unable to rest, asking yourself if you were missing something. I want to place my hand on your shoulder and remind you, you are not called to hold everything together. You are called to hold your position. When you hold your position, I hold everything. I hold you. I hold the timing. I hold the story. You do not have to be the king. You only have to be in the king. Peace comes from this, not you are holding, but I am holding. In this new season you will feel lightness, not because everything becomes simple, but because you no longer strain to hold it all. Some think that standing like this is passive, but standing in me is not passive. It is deep faithfulness. It is readiness. It is attentiveness. It is an inner posture, ears open, eyes awake, heart soft. When you stand in that posture, you will hear the small whispers you missed while running. Many miracles have gone unseen by those who ran too fast. They passed through doors without noticing they were open. They stepped over my word without hearing it. But the one who stands, the one who is in the right place, is often the first to see, not because they are better, but because they are there. In your family, you may think you must say a lot to keep the peace. But sometimes, all that is needed is that you stand still in peace. Not indifferent stillness, but alert stillness. When you do not get swept into the storm of emotion, the whole room becomes lighter. You will see this, your presence carries atmosphere. Your inner state is not a small detail, it is wind. When the wind is gentle and clear, the leaves grow still. When the wind is wild, the leaves thrash. You are a bearer of wind, not the wind of anxiety, but mine. Even if no one notices, no one praises, no one invites you, the atmosphere still changes, not because you forced it, but because you arrived with me. Many sit down because they think they are useless unless they are constantly doing. But uselessness does not come from doing little, it comes from doing out of place. You can run much, do much, say much. But if you are not standing where I want you, all of it is just exhaustion. The stone pillar does not move, yet it has impact. The current must bend around it. You are not the current. You are the pillar. You are not the one controlling everything. You are the one who stands so that everything can find its direction again. Direction does not come from your strength, but from your position in me. I have arranged the timings, the meetings, the circumstances, the places you stand. There were moments when you did not understand why I put you there. No noise, no lights, no applause. You thought you were invisible. But I say invisible is not worthless. Being in the right place is enough for me to do what I desire. I can use one person standing to shift an atmosphere, one peaceful soul to change a family, one pair of bright eyes to change a room. You do not have to say much. You only have to stand rightly. This is the paradox of water. Every stream must change course when it meets stone. But the stone does not need to move. It simply holds its place. This is your picture. You do not need to chase the flow of others. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to play a part. You do not need to perform. You only need to be present in the right place in me. When you are in me, what I intend to happen will happen. Not because you control it, but because you are there. Being present is action. Being present in me is power. In this season, you will feel lighter when you stop striving to do in order to see results. You will focus on being, and I will do the rest. You will breathe more easily. You will sleep more deeply. You will walk slower, but steadier. You will see that what flows from stillness carries deeper strength than what comes from strain. Straining tires the muscles. Stillness strengthens the heart. When you stand in me, like a stone pillar in the current shifts, not because you force it, but because you are in the right place. That is the silent miracle. That is how I work. There will be moments when you look around and the chairs are still full, yet your feet are already standing, not because you want to be different, but because the inner voice spoke before the outer voices. That voice is not noise, not pressure, not tension, but a steady, deep rhythm that cannot be ignored. That rhythm says, "It is time." Others have not heard it yet. They are still talking, still relaxed, still thinking it is not their turn. But your soul can no longer sit. It is not that the chair is uncomfortable, but your soul cannot rest if you stay seated. That is your portion. Sometimes you stand alone before others stand. Loneliness may brush your shoulder, but beneath the loneliness is a quiet glory. Because I stood before you, in the spirit, it looks like a wilderness where the first breeze touches the grass. The whole field is not moving yet, but one stalk trembles. Those who pass by do not notice, but the sky knows. A pioneer is not always seen first, but they feel first. You do not wait for the crowd to stand before you find courage. You stand before the crowd because you belong to my rhythm, not to the rhythm of applause. Others will rise after. Not everyone, but some. They will stand because they see you, yet not to follow you, but because they see me in you. That is how seed spreads in this season, not by shouting, but by standing true. A room full of people sitting creates a sense of safety, easy to breathe, easy to blend, easy to hide. But that safety is shallow. It is the ease of the majority, not the peace of belonging. When I call you to stand, it is not to abandon them, but to make a way. They do not know a path is open yet. But when you stand, you become the path. One person standing can make an entire room rethink, not because you teach, but because you do what others dare not. Not to stand out, but to be true. Truth does not need argument, it only needs presence. And when truth is present, the night changes color. Loneliness will visit you for a moment. Like a cold wind passing over your shoulder, it will ask, "Are you sure?" But you do not stand because you are sure, you stand because you are called. Calling is stronger than certainty. I do not need you to have every answer before you stand. I only need your yes. When you stand, you may not immediately see another standing beside you. Sometimes for a while, no one. That is not failure, that is a breath. A breath for roots to go deep. A breath for me to stand close. A breath for you to know you stand in me, not in applause. I will place others beside you at the right time. But the first moment belongs to you and me. The motif of the pioneer is not outward glory. The motif of the pioneer is inward weight. Those who open the way do not carry flags in front. They carry fire in their chest. That fire is not loud, but it burns. It makes you unable to sit. It makes you unable to pretend. It makes you unable to retreat. Others will look and think you are serious. But I know you are simply true. Truth is always slightly ahead of time. Truth often arrives a little before the crowd. Not to prove, but to prepare. When you stand, you are preparing the ground. Others will sow. Others, after them, will reap. But being the first to stand is a quiet honor. Not everyone will understand that silence. They will think you are isolating yourself. They will ask why you do not sit with them. But you know it is not because you want distance, it is because I call you close. Standing close to me may make you feel far from the crowd, but the crowd is not the source. I am the source. When the source is right, the place is right. You may feel lonely to human eyes, but I do not leave you alone. I stand closer than breath. I am beside you not as theory, but as presence. You will feel my hand not pressing, but supporting. I am forging in you a steadiness that does not come from noise. It comes from knowing you are chosen, knowing the moment has arrived, knowing that standing is obedience, knowing you do not need others to understand before you obey. There is a small smile I place in your heart when you stand, not a proud smile, but a grateful one. I know you are here. In that smile, loneliness melts. In that smile, glory comes. In that smile, your feet are firm. And then, when the hour comes, others will stand, not because you called, but because I called. You only need to stand rightly now. No one needs to call you a hero. No one needs to build statues. No one needs to write your name in chronicles. What I desire is not a performance, but a faithful watch. There are long nights in the city, cold wind and empty streets, where only one gatekeeper stands quiet, unseen, unnamed. He does not beat drums, does not shout slogans, does not seek applause. Yet the city is safe, not because a hero arrived, but because the gatekeeper did not sleep. That is your picture in this season. You are not a hero, you are faithful. Faithfulness is not loud. It does not demand credit. It does not demand gratitude. It simply stands. The gatekeeper knows he does not control the dawn. What he keeps is the gate. The gate is where things enter and leave. The gate is first and last. When an enemy comes, the gatekeeper sees first. When a friend comes, the gatekeeper welcomes first. But most of the time, the gate is silent. Nothing spectacular, only a quiet shift. I see those quiet shifts and I smile. Because they resemble me, I also keep the gate of your soul. Night after night, unseen, unthanked, yet I do not sleep. Staying awake with me is honor. I am not calling you to save the world. I already have a savior, and he has finished his part. You do not need to rescue humanity. You only need to hold your place. People misunderstand faithfulness, thinking it is small, but faithfulness is the foundation of great things. A storm does not break a wall where the gate is strong. Day does not confuse a traveler where the gate is clear. Faithfulness holds structure. Faithfulness holds the story. Faithfulness is quiet strength. A hero may appear once to the sound of cheering, but the faithful guard keeps the gate night after night, and a city survives because of them. There will be moments when you look around and think, I am not doing anything big, but you live clean. You guard your heart. You pray when no one knows. You speak kindness when no one watches. That is the night shift. That is gatekeeping the soul. I do not honor display, I honor endurance. One faithful watcher through a cold night makes a safe city for thousands to sleep. You do not see them. You do not hear them. You do not touch them. But they rest because you kept the gate. Perhaps no one on earth knows, but heaven records each beat. As you walk in this season, you will see something. I do not look for the most gifted. I look for the faithful. I do not look for the brightest. I look for those who do not abandon their post. You may not be the fastest, not the strongest, not the most talented, but if you are faithful, you are beautiful in my eyes. When I look down, I am not searching for noise. I am searching for a small light at the gate. That small light is my joy. In the night, a small light is great. In the dark, faithfulness is beauty. Humility is not pretending to be small. Humility is knowing where you stand. A gatekeeper knows he is not the king, but he knows he keeps the gate. The king needs a quiet gate. The people need a quiet gate. No one notices the gate when it functions well, but when the gate collapses, everyone panics. I have placed a function in you that others do not see, but I see it, and I delight in it. When you stand there, through long nights, with few people, without applause, I know you are not there for noise, you are there for me. When you are there for me, you are not alone. There are moments when the wind shifts. There are moments when the dew falls. There are moments when your eyes burn from the cold air of night. You will want to sit down. You will want to sleep. You will want to go back into the warm light of the house. But I stand with you. I keep the gate with you, not by instruction, but by companionship. When you look around and think you are just a small, nameless person, I lay my hand on your shoulder and say, I know your name. Your name is not carved into the city walls, but it is written in my heart. That is glory, not to be praised by people, but to be known by me. Faithfulness creates peace. You will see that the places where you keep the gate in silence become places where others come to rest. They do not know why they feel peace near you. They do not know that you have prayed for them while they slept. They do not know that you stood in the cold so they could rest in warmth. They think you are doing nothing, but I know. Heaven knows, and the peace they receive is the fruit of the position you keep. The faithful receive few compliments, but much fruit. Fruit is not always visible to the eye, but it nourishes the soul. In this age, people honor heroes, but heaven honors the faithful. Heroes have moments. The faithful have a lifetime. A great act may make a sound, but thousands of quiet watches keep the walls from falling. You do not know how many attacks I stopped because you stood. You do not know how many arrows missed because you prayed. You do not know how many souls slept safely because you kept the gate. That is the beauty of faithfulness. It does not need to see results in order to continue. It continues because it loves. Keep your heart clear from the ambition to prove anything. Become a gatekeeper in this season, steady, quiet, awake. When you stand there, I do what no one sees. I guard with you. I turn the atmosphere. I move the unseen. I prevent the enemy from passing through. All I ask is that you stand, not as a hero, but as one who is faithful. In my eyes, that is glory that does not fade. You do not need to command, or push, or persuade. When you stand in me, your standing becomes a word not by sound, but by weight. A single candle lit in a dark room does not shout to make other candles burn. It only needs to be true. True light does not compete, does not jostle, does not show off. It simply burns, and darkness retreats. When others sit long enough in the quiet, they begin to look, not at you, but at what shines through you. Not to imitate, but to recognize there is light here. There is peace here. Perhaps I should stand too. There will be moments that are strange but beautiful. Someone who once mocked you will speak softly. Someone who once avoided you will draw near. Someone who once said, "This is unnecessary," will ask, "Why do you stand here?" Not to argue, but to find a way. Your standing becomes an invitation, not a slogan, but a presence. When you stand, you create space for others to discover that standing is possible, that no one needs to be stronger than everyone else. They only need one faithful person. Light spreads not by explosion, but by touch. One candle lighting another does not lose its fire. It gives. Fire does not diminish when shared. Peace does not lessen when peace spreads. Joy does not shrink when joy is given. This is a deep spiritual law you will see in this season when you stand. No one takes away what is in you. They only receive more. I place in you a kind of weight that multiplies without being consumed. Others will sense it and stand, not because you teach, but because you live. Life within you becomes a silent proclamation. One day, in an ordinary gathering or in someone's living room, you will stand without thinking much of it. You will not try to influence, not try to stir emotion, not try to impress. You will simply stand. But another will stand behind you, then another, not because you signal them, but because they see what I am doing in you. They discover that standing is not performing, but responding. When one person responds, response has a voice, not the loud echo of a hall, but the clear whisper in the chest, "It is time." I rejoice when I see one person stand. I smile when I see two stand. But my heart is moved when I see the third, the fourth, the fifth stand without being urged. That is fire spreading, not the fire of human zeal, but the fire of my spirit. That fire does not burn chairs or walls. It burns away apathy. It burns away indifference. It burns away the fear that nothing ever changes. And when that fire burns, the soul awakens. No fireworks are needed, only light. Look at a candle in a dark house. It does not strain. It does not struggle. It does not demand attention. It simply is. But the room changes. Anyone who enters stops for a moment, not because the candle speaks, but because it shines. The light makes the eyes adjust. The light gives shape to the space. Someone who has sat in darkness a long time suddenly realizes the darkness was not the truest thing the light was, and they stand. At first, it is only a small movement, lifting the shoulders, breathing deeper, placing their feet more firmly on the floor. Then they stand, and the whole room shifts. You do not need to find ways to change everyone. You only need to stand. When you stand, you open a way. When you open a way, others find their own. You do not lead them, I lead. You are simply the first to stand when my voice stirs your heart. And that standing spreads like gentle waves across a shore. The first wave is soft, but the shoreline is changed. The next wave is stronger, then another, and another, until one day, the sand is wet and no one remembers when the water first touched it. That is how influence spreads. Someone may ask, "What did you do to make others change?" You will smile and say in your heart, "I stood." Standing is not achievement, not a medal, not a trophy. Standing is faithfulness, and faithfulness spreads. Others see faithfulness and do not feel pressured. They feel invited. That invitation does not come from your name, it comes from mine. I will place that invitation in the air, in your eyes, in your posture. Your peace will be the invitation. The spread of standing is not noisy. It is like dawn. The first person rises and does not call out, but the soft sound of footsteps on the floor is enough to wake the awareness of the whole house. The day has come. You do not need to shout. You only need to be awake. When you are awake, wakefulness spreads. When you stand, standing spreads. When you believe, belief spreads. Joy is not always loud laughter. Joy is a gentle flow in the soul. That flow will find its way through your mouth, through your gestures, through your gaze, through the atmosphere around you. Others will feel it and want to live truly. In this new season, you will witness something that will surprise you. Those who once feared to stand will stand. Those who were weary will stand. Those who once mocked will stand, not because you argued, not because you proved anything, not because you won a debate, but because you stood. A candle lit in a dark room does more than drive away the shadows. It reminds every soul that fire is real. When fire is real, the soul remembers. And when the soul remembers, it stands. This is my joy when you stand. Darkness retreats, and those I love remember that they were created to stand, not only to listen. Your standing does not take anyone's place. It makes room for many more. Standing does not take away. It gives. Standing does not close. It opens. And then, when you look back, you will see something beautiful. You are no longer standing alone, not because you called anyone, but because I called. You were simply the first to respond. The time to stand has never depended on blue skies or favorable winds, because if everyone waited for the sun to soften and the road to dry, no one would ever stand. True standing does not check the weather, does not consult the crowd, does not require guarantees from circumstances. It is summoned by a voice within, a voice that refuses to fall silent even when the windows tremble from the storm. You once thought standing had to wait for a good moment, a safe moment, a moment when others would understand. But the call does not wait. It comes on gray afternoons. On mornings when you are still tired, on nights when wind lashes the roof, and it speaks softly but clearly, now. This is the holy paradox storm outside, but peace within, leaves trembling, but roots unmoved. Remember this, it is not the storm that makes you fall, but your heart. When the heart stands, the feet stand. You once believed that you had to be rid of all fear before you could stand. But that is the illusion of flesh. The one who waits for fear to be gone before stepping will never walk. The one who waits for clear skies before setting out to sea will remain forever on shore. The moment to stand does not arrive when the shaking ends, but when the voice inside becomes stronger than the thunder. You are not the one who chooses the moment. You only answer. I call, I lead, I hold. Weather may shift, winds may rise, but my call does not change. Stand. There will be days when storms come without warning, bad news. People's words, pressures without names. Others will rush to hide. Shut doors, bolt locks, but you will hear something different. You are not invited to hide, you are called to stand. Not to stand recklessly, not to stand proudly, but to stand in me. Stand like a pillar of stone on the shoreline. Stand like a tall tree in the wind. Stand not because you are immovable, but because you are held, not because everything inside you is calm, but because your heart is calmer than the storm. Someone will ask, how can you stand right now? You will not answer with arguments, but with the heart, because he is here. People see the storm and think this is not the right time to stand. They say, wait until this season passes. Wait until the pressure lifts. Wait until the voices quiet down. But what I teach you is not to wait for the storm to pass, but to stand within it. After the storm is only evidence. Standing in the storm is glory. You are not called to stand only among honor, but among winds. On days when gusts strike, you will feel something deep. Peace is not the absence of wind. Peace is a root that cannot be uprooted. This is the secret peace I give. The storm cannot stop you, because the storm cannot reach the root. The root is in me. The root is deep in love. The root is my word. The root is calling. You once wished to be warned in advance. You wanted a schedule, which day, what hour, which step. But my voice does not send a calendar by email. My voice comes like a strong breath inside, like a change of rhythm in the chest. And when that voice sounds, you know, not by sight, but by spirit, you know, by a solemn awareness in your bones, it is time. This knowing redirects you without needing outside reasons. Others will ask why, and you cannot explain with logic, only with faithfulness. They will call you reckless, but I call you obedient. They will call you risky, but I call you rightly standing. Do not wait for favorable weather. Do not wait for applause. Do not wait for ladders of honor. Those who stand only when it is convenient will sit as soon as convenience disappears. But those who stand because they are called will stand even in strong winds. I do not call you to a place where wind never blows. I call you to a place where wind blows, yet you are not moved. I never promised that skies would always be blue. I promised that my hand would always be on you. When the wind rises, that hand rests on your shoulder, not to keep you from trembling, but to keep you from falling. Trembling is not failure. Falling is giving up. Trembling and still standing is victory. There will be nights when you hear doors creak, roofs rattle, something shaking outside. Those are not signs that I am far. They are signs that the season is changing. The season of standing is not as soft as gentle evenings. It is marked by wind striking windows, by air charged with electricity, by the soul waking in the night and knowing something is shifting. Do not fear those signs. Do not rush to seal yourself off. Stand. Stand on your own floor. Stand on my promise. Stand on what I have spoken to you. That standing is worship. The moment to stand does not come by human announcements, does not require trumpets, does not wait for a crowded sanctuary. It arrives first in the heart of one person. It arrives when you realize that if you do not stand, what I put in you will die from lack of air. Calling is breath. Standing is opening the lungs. When you stand, you breathe deeply. You breathe the air of my kingdom. You feel life move through your bones. You grow strong not by muscle, but by calling. Those who are called stand even when the body is tired. The storm is not the enemy. The storm is the backdrop. The storm reveals the standing. The storm exposes the roots. When there is no wind, everyone believes they are strong. When wind comes, you see who has roots. You do not fear the wind. You fear a heart without foundation. But I make your heart sure. I make your heart deep. I plant roots within you. I soak you with rain. I send your roots into the rock. You stand not by human willpower, but by the foundation I have laid. No one can take that foundation from you. The storm only washes away what is superficial, so that the essential is revealed. Others choose beautiful days to stand. You are called to stand when the clouds gather. That is honor. That is proof you belong to me. Those who belong to me do not bow before wind. They bow only before me, not before the storm. This is holy boldness, not arrogance toward people, but fearlessness toward wind. When you stand in the storm, angels watch. When you stand in the storm, hell trembles, not because you are large, but because I am with you. I am the rock. I am the fortress. I am the refuge. Your time is not granted by human permission. It is quickened by my voice. Others may laugh, may mock, may doubt, but my voice in you is stronger than theirs. They do not know what I have placed in you. They do not hear the voice you hear. They do not see the door that is opened inside you. They only see the storm outside and think this is not a reasonable moment. But you hear the voice in your chest, stand. That voice does not shout, but it is heavy. The weight sinks into your feet. You stand. And when you stand, the storm is no longer the main story. The storm becomes only the backdrop of what I am doing. Others look at you and they see this. The storm is still there. But you are not moved. They cannot explain it. They do not know that you are not standing by your feet, but by my word. Weather reaches only your coat. It does not reach your roots. The roots are in a place where wind cannot come. The roots are in my ground. And when roots touch rock, the roots know I will not fall. You once thought that standing meant fighting the storm, resisting the wind, pushing against pressure. But the roots of a tree do not fight the wind, they go deeper. The storm may whip branches, pull leaves, make a noise of rustling. But the roots do not hold a conversation with the wind. The roots simply do what roots must do. They sink deeper, embrace the soil, and anchor in the rock. You stand not to fight the storm, not to prove anything, not to show your strength. You stand so the storm will not carry you away. Standing is preservation. not performance. It is choosing a position, not choosing a battlefield. The one without roots faces the wind, but the one with roots only holds deeper. This is the wisdom of heaven, steadfast and unshakable. There will be days when the wind comes strong. People's words, events, circumstances spin like a whirlwind. The ceiling shudders. The windows rattle. Your heart wants to run. But when you stand in me, you do not stand to confront the wind. You stand to keep your place. That place is not always comfortable, but it is where I have placed you. Standing in the right place matters more than standing in the easy place. Many fear the storm and wander in search of shelter, but you are called to stand where I speak. When you stand where I speak, the wind may rush past you, but you will not be carried away. A great tree does not ask the wind why. It simply stands stable, silent, majestic. My spirit does not teach you to fight every noise. I do not send you to police the storm. I teach you to stand firm. Standing firm is knowing the source. Standing firm is knowing the rock. Standing firm is knowing where to place your heart. You do not need to answer the roar of your circumstances. You only need to hold on to me. I am the foundation. I am the rock. I am the fortress. Storms do not know foundations. Storms only know leaves. When you stand on my foundation, the storm cannot touch your identity. It may try to touch your emotions, but it cannot reach your soul. You stand by my word, not by the weather. Let me say this clearly. Standing is not tension. Standing is not bracing yourself, not putting on armor, not clenching your teeth. Standing is a deep breath. Standing is letting your shoulders fall. Standing is knowing that what holds you is not muscle, but me. When you understand this, you will feel peace even while the wind blows. Your peace is not in calm skies. Your peace is in deep roots. Roots do not go out to face the wind. Roots go down to drink water. The deeper they drink, the stronger they stand. This is the reversal of the world. The softer you are in me, the stronger you are in the storm. I have placed in you a foundation that the storm does not know. Not a foundation of feelings. Not a foundation of public opinion. Not a foundation of people's words. That foundation is what I have spoken. You belong to me. When that word becomes your ground, you will stand without straining. That word will hold your feet even when your heart still trembles. You think that those who stand do not tremble, but you will see your legs may shake, but your roots will hold. Legs tremble because of feelings, but roots stand because of truth. Legs say, I fear, but roots say, I am here. When the roots speak louder, the wind cannot win. The storm does not pull down the tree with deep roots, because the tree does not cling to the wind. The tree clings to the soil. What have you been clinging to? If you cling to feelings, the wind will take you. If you cling to people's words, the wind will push you. But if you cling to me, the wind will only blow through your hair. Your face may turn into the wind, but your heart turns toward the rock. Look at an old tree. It does not scream at the storm, does not threaten, does not challenge. It just stands, and that standing is victory. Not confrontation, but unmoved. Not violent, but solid. Not loud, but deep. Many waste their strength because they try to fight everything. They argue with wind, debate with clouds, grow angry at noise. I did not call you to that. You do not need to fight the storm. You need only fight the temptation to leave your position. That temptation is stronger than the storm. It tells you, leave, hide, find another place. But I say stay. Standing is not moving. Not straining it is faithfulness to the place I have put you. When you are faithful in the place of my speaking, I am faithful to protect you. There will be times when your branches shake violently. You will hear your leaves rustle as if they might break. You will see some dry branches fall. That is not failure. That is cleansing. The storm does not come to uproot the trunk, but to take away what is unnecessary. In the wind, you will discover what in you is root and what is leaf. Leaves falling is normal. Deep roots are truth. After the storm, you will breathe more freely. You will feel lighter. You will feel cleaner. You will know more clearly what matters. That is the gift of the storm. Steadfast, unshakable is not a slogan. It is a life. It is the blood running through your soul when you stand in me. Not because you are perfect, but because you are rooted in love, rooted in truth, rooted in my word. When you are rooted, you do not carry the weight of the world. You only guard what is within. The world may spin, but you do not have to spin with it. Standing is a gentle yet mighty choice. Standing is worship. I see you on the windy days. I see you holding your place in silence, no shouting, no display. I am pleased. The storm does not know who you are, but I do. I look at the root. I see what I have placed in you. That cannot be easily broken. It does not come from flesh, but from the Spirit. Spiritual roots go deeper than earthly soil. They reach into my foundation, the foundation that cannot be shaken. You stand not to fight the storm, but so the storm will not carry you away. And when the storm cannot carry you away, you become my sign. There is rock here. There is foundation here. There is me here. You once thought the season of standing was far away, that you needed more signs, more confirmation, more time to prepare. But time does not come through announcements. It comes through movement in the heart. Like dawn, no one commands the sun to rise, yet light still floods the window. When I say, it is time, the wall clock does not change, but the heart does. You feel weight settling into your feet, a gentle solemnity, a voice not loud yet impossible to ignore, not the call of humans, not pressure from outside, but my voice touching the deep now. The hour has come, not because circumstances are favorable, but because I have chosen the hour. Some wait for obvious signs, lightning, meteors, gates opening, banners waving, trumpets sounding, but I move like morning mist, quiet, light, unnoticed, directly, yet known by everyone. The knowing in your soul is the proof. You no longer ask, when, you begin to ask, where do I stand, when the question changes. That is the sign. The hour has come when you stop living as one waiting and begin living as one ready, no longer waiting for the season, but stepping into it. The time has come because I am here, not because you are skilled, not because you are worthy, but because I have decided. The hour is not built on your achievements, but on my intention. I have prepared your heart through long nights, whispered words, quiet conversations no one else heard. I planted roots in you when you thought you were merely surviving the day. I sent rain even when you did not notice. I softened the soil, though you thought you were dry. And when the soil in your heart was soft, I said, stand. This is your hour. Do not look around for reasons to believe. The reason is not outside. The reason is in me. I speak, and that is enough. You do not need a timeline. You do not need social proof. You do not need the agreement of the crowd. The time has come because I said so. When I speak, time adjusts to me. When I speak, circumstances bow. When I speak, the wind changes direction. You do not have to prove anything. You only have to stand. Your standing is not a declaration about you, but a declaration about me. Some will ask, why now? I answer, because now is my hour, not the comfortable hour, not the quiet hour, but the right hour. Some things only happen while the sky is still gray. Some miracles only open when you walk in silence. Some doors only turn when you are not waiting for a sound. I am the one who acts in the exact moment. You do not need a grand clock. You do not need a public announcement. You only need to be sensitive to my rhythm. That rhythm is no longer far. It is already beating in your chest. The time has come not for you to make noise, but for you to stand and watch the atmosphere change. When a person stands in the right place, the air around them shifts, not because they are loud, but because they are true. The pressure in the room lightens. The wind in the soul of others turns. No one can explain it, but everyone can feel it. People may not know the reason, but they know the space has changed. Your standing is a sign to them. Something is happening. I do that, not you. The time has come for you to respond. This is not an invitation for someone else. Someone holier, stronger, greater. This is an invitation for you. I have spoken to you through tears, through sighs, through late hours when you thought you were lost. No one saw my hand on your shoulder in those nights, but you knew. You felt a weight without knowing its name. Today, I name it calling. Not the calling of opinion, but the calling of the Creator. When I call, the time comes. Many do not see yet. That is fine. Their time may not have arrived, but you have heard, you have felt, you have known. Do not wait for them to understand before you stand. Do not wait for them to agree before you step. When you stand, they will look, and there will come a day when they will know. You do not have to persuade anyone. You only have to be faithful. Faithfulness is everything. The time has come for faithfulness to become action. The day of standing has arrived, not the day of loud victories, but the day of position. You belong there. I do not tell you to stand to show yourself, but to reveal me. When you stand in me, I stand in you. My presence will do what your words cannot. I will touch hearts. I will shift the atmosphere. I will use you as a stone pillar in the stream, not to stop the flow, but to direct it. The water will have to bend around your standing, not because of you, but because of me in you. This is the hour I appointed long ago, the hour of standing. The time has come. Thank you for receiving this message today. Click subscribe and turn on notifications so we may continue to receive living words together. Build an unshakable faith and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.